Anonymous, please help before I lose my mind. Okay. First of all, no shoes, please. I get enough of that from my mother-in-law, and I don't need it here, too. It's already embarrassing enough. Let me just spill everything out, and if you all want to throw tomatoes later, fine. But for now, I need advice, or a drink, or maybe both. Here's the thing. I came to America about, 15 years ago. Yes, I know. I sound like the typical Russian woman who got off the plane and immediately fell into the arms of an American man. But no, it's not that dramatic. I married Greg, and honestly, it's been good. Great, even. We have a solid friendship, fantastic sex, which is a plus, right? 2 kids, a decent life in the suburbs. I run, I do yoga, I even have this weird habit of drinking kombucha because, well, when in America, you get it. Life looks pretty good from the outside, except enter him. Let's call him Mark, because if I say his real name, someone will track him down, and I'll be the next headline on the Wives Behaving Badly page. Mark is married too. Wonderful wife. They seem perfect on paper. But why did I have to fall for him? For 2 years now, I've been pining like a teenager. 2 years of mentally torturing myself, pretending everything's okay when I'm dying inside. It's like I'm in some bad soap opera, except there's no cheating. No affair. Just this toxic, obsessive, soul-crushing infatuation that won't let me go. Ladies, I've tried everything. 4 psychologists? 4. And each one, God bless them, dug into my childhood like it's some kind of goldmine of trauma. But all I can think about is Mark. I sit there, nodding like a good patient while secretly scrolling through his social media. And my husband? He has no clue. I mean, why would he? We're good. Great sex, great kids, great life. And yet, I cry into my pillow every night, imagining what it would be like if Mark just, swept me off my feet. Stupid, right? I've even been blocking and unblocking him on Instagram every 3 days, like a lunatic. Block, unblock, block again. And then I think, maybe today, he'll message me, even though I know that's not going to happen. His wife is this gorgeous, perfect woman. I think she bakes bread from scratch and volunteers for animal rescues on weekends. I once tried to bake bread too, just to see if I could be her. It ended in flames. Literal flames. I had to call the fire department. And don't even start with the just talk to a therapist advice. Been there, done that, got the Prozac. Honestly, talking to a therapist about this feels like showing up at a car mechanic when your heart's broken. They want to talk about my daddy issues, and all I want is to stop checking if Mark posted a new story. So here's where the crazy part comes in. And yes, I know I'm already half crazy. I've convinced myself that maybe, just maybe, if I wait long enough, something magical will happen. He'll leave his wife. I'll leave Greg. We'll ride off into the sunset and everyone will live happily ever after. Except that's not how life works, right? I wouldn't leave Greg. Even the idea of leaving him makes me nauseous. I'd miss him. But I can't stop thinking about Mark either. I'm stuck, ladies. Like a Russian nesting doll, layer after layer of misery and guilt. I should have matured by now. Moved on. Grown out of this. Whatever this is. But no. Here I am, 2 years deep in this obsession, lying to myself, to Greg, and essentially running a one-woman drama production in my head. Oh, and now I've started listening to these ridiculous energy detachment meditations. You know the ones? The soft-spoken, mystical types who tell you to let go of toxic energy and free yourself. I made it about 5 minutes into one of those before I stopped and unblocked Mark again, like an addict who can't quit. And then there's the dream. You know, the one where you wake up with your heart pounding, sweaty palms, and feeling like you've lived an entire lifetime in 5 minutes? It's always the same. Mark and I, in some impossibly beautiful cabin in the woods, just being together. It's peaceful, it's intimate, and it's always just out of reach. I wake up, roll over, and Greg's snoring beside me like a freight train. The guilt hits me like a sledgehammer, and I'm right back to pretending everything's fine. But it's not fine. Not at all. Now, before you judge me too harshly, let me just say I've tried to make sense of it all. Maybe it's the excitement I'm craving. Or maybe it's just that thing you can't explain, where someone crawls under your skin and stays there like an itch you can't scratch. I've even thought about cutting all ties, deleting his number, unfollowing him for good, but then I see him at a school event or a neighborhood barbecue, and it's like someone hit the restart button on my obsession. I'm a moth to his flame. And let's be real, he's not even that hot. Objectively, he's just average. But to me, he might as well be a damn Greek god. Okay, so here's the plot twist, because you thought the mess was already bad enough, right? Guess who else has started getting a little too friendly with Mark? My best friend, Lena. Yeah, my go-to person, the one who knows all my dirty little secrets. I saw them chatting at a neighborhood picnic, and now I'm spiraling. What if she's into him too? What if he likes her back? What if they're secretly sneaking around behind my back? I mean, come on, is this my karma for being an emotional cheater? And then, just to spice things up a bit more, Greg's suddenly gotten all romantic on me. He's planning a surprise weekend getaway for us. Just us. No kids. I should be thrilled, right? But all I can think about is how guilty I feel. What if he knows? What if he's trying to fix something he thinks is broken? The worst part? I'm not even excited. I should be planning lingerie and spa days, but instead, I'm stalking Mark's Instagram, wondering if he'll post something while I'm away. So there you have it, girls. I'm a mess. A disaster wrapped in Lululemon leggings. I've got a great husband, a beautiful life, and yet I'm mentally torturing myself over some fantasy that's never going to happen. What do I even do at this point? Wait for it to pass? Pray for amnesia? Or maybe I just need to sign up for a bread-making class with Mark's wife and get it over with. Help. Or at least send wine. Okay, so fast forward a few weeks, and there I am, sitting in the car with Greg, driving to what he's called a surprise destination. I'm trying to get excited. I really am. But my mind is still stuck on Mark, and Lena, by the way, because I've been seeing them hang out more and more. Like, okay, maybe I'm paranoid. Maybe they're just friends. But why is she laughing at his jokes all the time now? She never used to find him that funny. So yeah, I'm stuck in my mental chaos while Greg's chatting about hiking trails or hot springs or something. The drive is long, and I keep checking my phone under the pretense of looking at the map, but we both know it's not that. Mark posted a story with his wife. A cute picnic, of course. Perfect lighting, perfect smiles. Oh, and Lena liked it. Great. Just great. So, we finally arrive at this stunning cabin. It's straight out of a postcard, tucked in the woods, with these big, floor-to-ceiling windows that make it feel like you're part of nature. Greg's all excited, unloading the car, and I'm standing there like an idiot, staring at the place and thinking, this would be perfect for that fantasy I keep having about Mark. You know, the one where it's just the two of us, no one else around, just being together. I feel the guilt clawing at my stomach, but what else is new? Greg comes up behind me, wraps his arms around my waist, and whispers, "What do you think? Just us, no kids, no distractions." And okay, that should be romantic, right? He's trying. I get it. But all I can think about is how I'm not here. I'm halfway between wondering if Lena's texting Mark right now and feeling like the world's biggest hypocrite. We get inside, and Greg's already in full vacation mode, pouring wine, just setting the mood. And it's nice. It really is. I feel this tiny flicker of warmth for him. Like, yes, this man has been nothing but good to me, and here I am, being an emotional train wreck over someone else. So, I tell myself, let it go for the weekend. Just focus on Greg. Be in the moment. And girls, let me tell you, I tried. I really did. Greg was being amazing, cooking dinner, lighting candles, all the cliches that should have made me swoon. And we had this whole romantic evening planned out. Dinner, wine, and then some, adult activities by the fireplace. But of course, my mind doesn't cooperate. No. My mind decides to sabotage me like usual. Halfway through the evening, Greg gets a text, and I see his face change. It's subtle, but after all these years, I know his moods. He brushes it off, says it's work, but I know that's a lie. I mean, it's the weekend. We're in the middle of nowhere. Who's texting him from work? I didn't press it, though. Instead, I grabbed more wine and decided to drown my overactive imagination. Later that night, after a very passionate round of activities, one where I actually managed to focus on my real husband for once, Greg starts acting weird. He's lying there, staring at the ceiling, and I can feel the tension radiating off him. And I'm thinking, what now? Is he regretting the weekend? Is something wrong with us? So I do what any sane wife would do in that moment. I pretend I'm asleep. Yup, I pulled the classic, "Oh no, I'm so tired. I can't possibly deal with whatever emotional bomb you're about to drop." But Greg, bless his heart, decides that's the perfect time to confess. He rolls over, puts his arm around me, and whispers, "I need to tell you something." At this point, my heart is pounding because what now? I mean, he's either about to tell me he's been cheating on me or that he has some terminal illness, and I am not prepared for either. He takes a deep breath and says, "You've probably noticed I've been a little distant this past year." "Oh, you don't say, Greg?" I mean, sure. I've been distracted with my own Mark-related mental drama, but now that he mentions it, yeah, there's been something off. So I stay quiet, just letting him get it out. And it's because, well, I've been dealing with something really difficult. You know Mark's wife? She's been coming on to me. I swear, the silence in that room was deafening. I was lying there, my mind short-circuiting, trying to process what he just said. Did I hear that right? Did Greg just say that Mark's wife, the same wife I've been quietly comparing myself to for the last 2 years, has been hitting on my husband? I can't even describe the wave of emotions that hit me. Part of me was furious. Part of me wanted to laugh because, of course, she's been after Greg. Why wouldn't she? But mostly, I felt sick to my stomach. All this time, I've been obsessing over Mark, and here his wife is, trying to get into my husband's pants. What kind of twisted universe is this? Greg kept talking, saying how he didn't want to burden me with it, how he's been trying to avoid her, how he didn't know how to handle it without making things awkward between us and them. He even admitted that he was scared I'd think something happened, even though nothing ever did. He was just struggling, trying to keep things normal while resisting her advances. I wanted to scream, not because I thought Greg had cheated. He hadn't. I could tell that much. But because this whole thing was so insane. I've been living in my head, pining over Mark, thinking I'm the one in some secret emotional drama, and the whole time his wife has been after my husband. And now I had 2 options. I could tell Greg everything. The whole sordid mess about my obsession with Mark, the tears, the therapy, the unblocking and blocking on Instagram like a crazy person. Or I could keep it to myself and pretend none of this was happening. So what did I do? I laughed. I laughed so hard I almost cried. Poor Greg looked at me like I'd lost it completely. But what else was I supposed to do? The situation was ridiculous. His wife wants my husband, I want her husband, and neither of us is doing anything about it. It's like some bizarre love quadrangle where no one's even had an affair. After I finally stopped laughing, and Greg still looked concerned, I told him, "You know what? I think we're both insane." He didn't argue. Instead, he just kissed me on the forehead and said, "Let's just try to enjoy the rest of the weekend, okay?" And that, ladies, is where we left it. A romantic weekend in the woods, where I'm supposed to be rekindling things with my husband while simultaneously realizing that Mark's wife has been after him this whole time. I can't even begin to process how I'm going to deal with Mark or his wife when we get back. Maybe I'll just bake them both some bread. The rest of the weekend? Well, let's just say I spent half of it sipping wine and staring into the woods, and the other half trying not to laugh every time I looked at Greg. I mean, how am I supposed to enjoy a romantic getaway when all I can think about is how tangled this whole mess has become? When we get back home, things go back to normal, or whatever normal is when you've just found out that your husband has been dodging the advances of the woman you've been emotionally cheating with. I've got kids to deal with, laundry piling up, and Lena asking how the trip went, all while I'm just waiting for the next bomb to drop. Then it happens. A few days later, I run into Mark. Of course, I wasn't planning to, but that's how the universe works when you're in the middle of a disaster. It throws you right into the middle of it. I'm at the grocery store, picking out avocados or something equally mundane, when I feel someone behind me. "Hey, stranger," I hear. And I know that voice anywhere. I turn, and there's Mark, holding a basket full of organic kale and looking way too good for someone who's just grocery shopping. I almost drop my avocado. Because now, standing in front of him, all I can think about is the fact that his wife has been throwing herself at Greg, and I've been obsessing over him for 2 years. What am I even supposed to say? But before I can even open my mouth, he smiles and says, "I've been meaning to text you. Things have been weird lately. You got a minute to chat?" Oh God, here it comes. I nod, trying to act casual, and we wander over to the little coffee shop in the store. We sit down, and I'm bracing myself to tell him everything about his wife, about Greg, about the whole tangled web of insanity. But before I can, he starts talking. "I don't know what's going on with her," he says, running a hand through his hair. "My wife. She's been so distant this past year. I know things get stale in a marriage, but it's been different. Like she's not even interested in trying anymore. I don't know. I've been feeling like I'm just a roommate at this point. I freeze. Distant? Distant because she's been busy trying to seduce my husband? The irony here is just too much, but I keep quiet, nodding like I'm totally following along. And I know this is going to sound bad," Mark continues, looking genuinely uncomfortable, "but I think that's why I've kind of been, flirting with Lena. She's easy to talk to, and I don't know, it's just been nice to have someone to connect with. But now I feel guilty because it's not like I want anything serious with her. It's been lonely, you know?" Lena. My Lena. My best friend Lena. I swear, I could feel my brain short-circuiting as he said it. So, while I've been obsessing over Mark and torturing myself, he's been flirting with Lena? And now he's sitting here feeling guilty about it, while his wife has been after my husband? I take a deep breath, trying not to explode on the spot. What are the odds? It's like we're all living in some bizarre reality show, and the producers are throwing out plot twists just to see who breaks first. "Yeah," I managed to say. "I know what you mean." "Oh, I know what you mean. All right." "I didn't mean for it to happen," he continues, looking genuinely torn. "It's just, with everything being so off with my wife, I guess I just needed someone to talk to. And Lena's been, there." He pauses, rubbing the back of his neck. "I feel bad. Really bad. I haven't done anything with her, obviously, but just the flirting, it feels wrong, you know?" Wrong? Oh, Mark, if only you knew the half of it. At this point, I'm not sure if I should laugh, cry, or throw my coffee in his face. But instead, I just sit there, nodding along like some kind of supportive friend, all while my brain is screaming, "Tell him. Tell him everything." About his wife, about Greg, about the fact that we've both been living in this ridiculous fantasy world for way too long. But I can't. I just can't. Not yet, anyway. It feels like if I tell him now, it'll break something fragile and delicate that neither of us can fix. So instead, I take a deep breath and say, "Look, marriage is hard. Sometimes things get messy. Maybe you just need to talk to her, work things out." God, I sound like one of those advice columnists, don't I? Mark sighs, shaking his head. "I've tried. I don't know, maybe I'll try again. I hate feeling like this. I hate that I'm even talking about this with you. I'm sorry." He looks genuinely torn up about it, and for a second, I almost feel sorry for him. Almost. But then I remember that his wife has been cozying up to my husband, and any sympathy I had disappears. We sit there in awkward silence for a few minutes, sipping our coffees, before he finally says, "I guess I just needed to get that off my chest. Thanks for listening. I don't know what I'd do without you." And that, ladies, was the moment I realized just how deep this rabbit hole goes. Mark, my impossible crush, has been feeling distant from his wife and using Lena as his emotional crutch. Meanwhile, his wife has been hitting on Greg. And I'm stuck in the middle of this web of lies and flirtations, pretending like I'm somehow above it all. I tell him it's going to be okay, that everything will work itself out. But deep down, I'm not so sure anymore. All I know is this mess is far from over, and I'm still not sure how or if I'm ever going to get out of it.